I was thinking about themes, and I could tell you guys where I'm from and what I've done to get here, and I also have some of the circuitous group, but what really made me decide to be a family doctor was I got to work for one as a pre-med student, and that really was exciting to see the tiny little old ladies and the tiny babies all at the same time, and to look at the waiting room and see everybody related to each other. You know, Aunt so-and-so and Uncle so-and-so and great-grandma and great-great-grandma, and have them all go, oh, I didn't know you were coming in. But to have that social context and to really understand where people are coming from. I love teaching and I love stories, and there's nothing better than family medicine for teaching and stories and teaching stories. Because you're teaching your patients every moment you're talking to them. Because if you're not listening to them and understanding them and then helping them understand and learn, then they're going to walk away and they're going to throw away the prescription you wrote, or they're going to shred the handout of the ABS that you handed to, you know, the automatic printout. Because if you're not engaged, you think about all the times you've interacted with someone who didn't seem to care about you. You don't care about what they said. So engaging with the patients has been important to me. But the thing that really solidified it for me at Michigan was, which has a great family practice program, but as a student you wouldn't have known it, which is sort of how I wound up out here. I was doing my neonatal ICU rotation as a third year, and we got to go to all of the C-sections and all of the high-risk deliveries, and we got to rub the baby. That's the best thing! Rub the baby! Oh, exciting! Rub the baby! And then they said, and what's the APGAR? And I was like, I'm just rubbing the baby! and then when you're in the room of the delivery, you get to look over and there's this elation, and the tough guy's crying. I cried. This is just my crying! So I got to see that, and then I got to do my OB rotation, and I got to be there and deliver the baby. And I got to hand the baby to the pediatrician. And then I wasn't allowed to rub the baby. And I really had to just focus on all this happy stuff, but there was this mess. I just wanted to rub the baby. So I figured out that if you're a family doctor, you can have the resident deal with the mess, and you can go rub the baby. So that's why I'm an academic. But I really do like telling stories, and I could tell tons and tons of stories. And Ben, who was my core advisee when I was his advisor, has heard them all, so I won't repeat them because it gets boring. But I, like Elizabeth, get bored very easily, and I've had a lot of career attempt type of directions where I thought I was going to be a teacher, and that got boring, and I thought I was going to speak French for the rest of my life. Super boring! Two people who speak French. But when I found family medicine, I've been doing this now for 10 years, I have not been bored 1 minute of my life. And I know tomorrow is going to be more exciting than it was yesterday. And sometimes, like Scott mentioned, sometimes that's a little tedious, like, but it's also invigorating, and it really does keep you going. So I wanted to answer the question of what does my day look like? And I kind of want to condense what my last week looked like instead, because every day as an academic family physician, I think, can be very different. Starting a week ago, I was paged by the ICU where a patient of mine who had an elective procedure was wanting to, her family was wanting to withdraw support. That's not a typical occurrence, but it was a weekend. My pager was on because I take care of my maternity patients, and I wasn't expecting to get that kind of page, but I went in and I met with the family who knew very well for the last 8 years. I met with my patient, and I met with the surgeons, and I met with the ICU, and we had a care conference, and we went through support, and she died 15 minutes later. And it wasn't expected. She had an elective procedure. But that's the way it went. And I was there for quite a while, and it was really incredibly important to be there on a Sunday when this family who I knew very well, and this patient who I knew very well, and I knew, even though the surgeons and everybody didn't want her to withdraw support, she was done fighting, and she needed to be at peace. And so I was there for that, and 3 days later I got paged at 2 o'clock in the morning that my Conti continuity prenatal patient was on labor and delivery and seemed to be actively in labor. She's also a physician, not at this, not at OHSU. So I got ready, and the resident said, "Oh, she's only 4 centimeters, so you have some time." And a half an hour later, he paged me, and she was 8 centimeters. So I started putting the shoes on, and 15 minutes later, he said, "She's complete." And I got to the hospital without speeding, without breaking any laws at 4 o'clock in the morning, and delivered her baby with my resident, and I didn't get to hug the baby because the baby got to go to the mom, which is what you're supposed to do. And so I got to look at the baby very quickly as the mom, it was a wonderful delivery, and everybody was very happy, and I went home and I slept for an hour, and then I came back and instead of, that was my admin day, I did a home visit for a severely mentally retarded 75-year-old patient who was mental age of a 6-month-old, anoxic birth injury, 75 years ago, who's never walked a day in her life, and her skin is pristine and hasn't been in the hospital in over 18 months. And I did so I took care of her in her home, and I went out there to do that, and then I rushed back into town to go to the Southwest Community Health Center, which a lot of you are familiar with, which is another one of my jobs, which is wonderfully supported by our department. And I'm one of the co-medical directors of the Southwest Community Health Center. For those of you who don't know, the local safety net clinic runs completely independently from OHSU, but with a generous amount of support from the volunteer from our department. We have 1,500 patients ish on our panel there. We don't have electronic health record, which is like the same, like going to Honduras and what we're trying to do there is continually raise money because we are funded by all grants and donations. And one of the ways the power comes from the data is by looking at the charts, and we don't have electronic charts, we have paper charts, so it takes a lot of physical time to gather data, to look at charts, to do chart review, and to determine who do we need to help and how do we need to help. So I went over there because they're submitting a grant tonight for health maintenance support for women. And so I went over there and we were writing that, and then I rushed off to a home visit with a resident, because that's part of what we do, and a hospice patient of mine. And then I went home, and that was my day. In 48 hours, I got to be at the side of a dying patient. I got to deliver a patient. I got to do 2 home visits. I got to go to an FQHC wannabe, because it's not even an FQHC, a safety net clinic to help run that clinic. And then, yesterday, Monday, I had patients in the room, which was wonderful. But, so there was never a dull moment. There is nothing I can't, I'm never happy if I'm bored, and so I keep myself occupied. And the last part of this is the teaching, and all of this involves teaching. It involves teaching my patients, but it involves teaching residents, and being involved with residency is a great honor and incredibly important to me. But also involved with teaching students who come to the Southwest Community Health Center. I'm a PCM preceptor, and I'm a PCM leader right now. And these things, like Ben was saying, I don't do all of my life in an FQHC, which is what I thought I was going to be when I was signing up to be a family doctor. But I do enough of it to keep me invigorated and passionate. And somebody asked me, how do you pick your calling in family medicine? And I feel like you pick it all, and then you just keep doing what makes you happy, and you'll find a candidate.